All right, today we're going to talk about a predator, one that we thought we'd beaten. A creature that was nearly wiped off the map but is now staging a pretty terrifying comeback. I'm talking about Cochliomyia hominivorax, better known as the New World screwworm.
Now what if I told you there's a common fly whose offspring have to eat living creatures from the inside out to survive? Yeah, it sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, right? But for this fly, it's not fiction, it's a biological fact. See, this isn't just any old fly. Its larvae, they don't eat decaying stuff. No, they need living flesh.
And that right there is the key to what makes this screwworm so uniquely horrifying. It's what scientists call an obligate parasite. Fancy term, but what it really means is that its larvae, the maggots, are biologically hardwired to only eat living tissue. They can't develop on dead animals, on carrion. They absolutely have to have a living, warm-blooded host. If they don't find one, they just die. The life cycle grinds to a halt.
So, to really get a handle on the threat this thing poses, we've got to understand the creature itself. Let's dive into its biology.
Okay, let's be super clear here. We are not talking about some microscopic germ or a single-celled amoeba. Cochliomyia hominivorax is a metazoan. It's a complex, multicellular animal. So, don't think of something like Giardia you might get from drinking bad water. No, you need to think of this as a tiny, highly efficient, flesh-eating predator.
So, if we look at where this fly fits in the grand scheme of things, you can see its whole family tree. Kingdom, Animalia, class, Insecta, all pretty standard stuff. It's a type of blowfly. But here's where it gets chilling. Look at that species name, hominivorax. That's Latin, and it literally means man-eater. They named it that for a reason, a truly horrifying reason. Its ability to infest and consume living human beings.
Okay, take a look at this. This is the playbook for how this creature operates. And it is frighteningly efficient. The whole cycle from a tiny egg to a full-grown, reproducing adult fly can happen in as little as 3 weeks in the right conditions. And that incredibly fast turnaround, well, that's what makes outbreaks so explosive.
So let's walk through this step by step. It all kicks off with a wound. And it doesn't have to be a big one. Even a simple tick bite is an open invitation. A female fly comes along and lays a cluster of eggs, maybe up to 400 of them. In less than 24 hours, they hatch. And those tiny larvae, they get to work immediately, burrowing into living tissue and feeding for about a week. After they've had their fill, they drop to the ground, burrow into the soil to become pupae, and then emerge as adult flies, ready to start the whole nightmare all over again. And get this, here's the really terrifying math. A single female can lay up to 3,000 eggs in her lifetime. Think about that.
And you know, this is how it got its name, screwworm. It's because of how the larvae feed. They have these incredibly powerful, sharp hooks on their mouths. They literally anchor themselves in and tear away at healthy muscle, burrowing deeper and deeper in this sort of corkscrew motion. And what's worse, all this feeding creates a bigger, nastier wound. That wound gives off a foul smell that acts like a beacon, attracting more female flies to come lay more eggs. You can see how this quickly spirals into a devastating and often fatal infestation.
Now, this parasite wasn't just a nightmare for individual animals and people. It was an economic disaster, causing billions, with a B, in losses to the livestock industry. But for a while there, we were actually winning. Humanity was fighting back and winning big, all thanks to a truly brilliant scientific breakthrough.
The solution was something called the sterile insect technique, or SIT, and it was absolutely brilliant. Scientists figured out a key weakness in the fly's own biology. The females only mate once. That's it, just one time. So they had this idea, what if we could raise millions of male flies, sterilize them with radiation, and then just flood the wild population with them? The wild females would mate with these sterile males, lay eggs that would never hatch, and poof, no next generation. It's basically birth control, but on a massive population-wide scale.
And you know what? It worked. It worked spectacularly. By 1966, the screwworm was officially gone from the United States. The program was so successful, they just kept pushing it south. By 1991, Mexico was declared free of the pest. And the whole massive effort ended up creating this permanent biological wall, a sterile fly barrier, at the Darien Gap in Panama. The idea was to just constantly release billions of sterile flies there to stop the screwworm from ever coming back north from South America. And for decades, that barrier held strong.
But that success story, that great scientific triumph, has taken a very dark turn. Because after all those decades of holding the line, the barrier has been breached.
You see, for years, the situation was totally under control. Panama would get maybe 25 cases a year.
usually right near the border with Colombia. They were just these little, manageable flare-ups that the teams on the ground could stamp out pretty quickly.
And then came 2023, and the system just failed. The number of cases in Panama went from that average of 25 a year to over 6,500. It's just a staggering number. The screwworm had punched right through that biological wall and was on the move, heading north once again.
And the spread has been just alarmingly fast. It's like a wildfire. You can't contain it. After it blew through Panama, it reinfested Costa Rica. Then it was in Nicaragua. Then Honduras. And by late 2024, the very same parasite that Mexico spent years and millions of dollars getting rid of, well, it was back. This has triggered massive emergency measures, and as you can imagine, extremely intense surveillance all along the U.S. border.
So you might be thinking, okay, this is a problem in Central America. Why should someone in, say, Europe care? Well, in our interconnected world, with global travel and trade, a local problem can become everyone's problem, and fast.
Let's just compare the risk profiles here. If you're in an endemic zone, like parts of South America, any open wound on you, your pet, or livestock is a potential target for these flies. The threat is all around you. But for a place that's not endemic, like the Netherlands, the risk is different. The screwworm can't set up a permanent population there. The climate just won't let it. The real danger is importation. It's a tourist coming home with a wound they didn't realize was infested, or an animal being shipped internationally that's carrying the parasite.
And this is exactly why prevention at international borders is so absolutely critical. Any animal coming in from one of these endemic countries has to be inspected, and I mean rigorously. Any wounds they have must be treated with larvicide before they even get on the plane. And for people, it's really all about awareness. If you travel to these areas, you've got to be smart, protect any cuts or scrapes, and keep a very close eye on them when you get back.
So, let's say a suspected case pops up somewhere it's not supposed to be. How do doctors know for sure that they're dealing with the dangerous New World screwworm and not just some other, less aggressive type of maggot? Well, the final answer always comes from the lab.
Take a close look at this larva. The list of identifiers tells the experts exactly what they're looking for under a microscope. You see those two dark, thick lines running down its back? Those are its breathing tubes. The technical term is pigmented tracheal tubes. And for Cochliomyia hominivorax, they are a dead giveaway. Another key feature is the unique pattern of its breathing pores on its rear end. It sounds super technical, I know, but these tiny details are basically a fingerprint. They would allow a scientist to definitively say, yep, this is the one we're worried about, and not one of the thousands of other harmless maggots out there.
And all of this brings us right back to the urgent, central question we're facing today. We beat this thing once before. It took a monumental international effort, but we did it. Now it's back, and it's spreading like we haven't seen in a generation. So, as this predator pushes north again, what's it going to take to win this war a second time?
We compiled all the information for this explainer using a Gemini deep search. And if you're interested in digging deeper into the science, the case studies, and the official reports, we've put a complete list of all our sources in a Notebook LM document. You can find the link for that right in the description below.
So if you found this breakdown useful, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more explainers on critical topics like this one. And we really do want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this resurgence? Got any questions? Drop them in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching.